And, okay, and I look at you, or what?
Yeah, you look at me.
Okay.
Actually, okay.
All right.
Who are you? And spell your name.
Tom Power, Power, a friend and admirer of Walt and Karen Worthy.
Very good. Let's start from the beginning. Do you remember meeting them? And what do you remember about meeting them?
I do remember meeting Walt. It was when he was building his first building at Rock Point. And I remember that he wanted money, and he didn't think he owed the bank. I was a banker at that time. He didn't think he owed the bank any explanations. Just give me the money, and I'll build the building, and everything will be fine. And Walt, what are you going to spend it on? Well, this building. Well, how much are you going to spend and where? Well, the money, and I'll figure that out. No, Walt, we need to know ahead of time. So that was my first experience with Walt. It was.
How did that work out? I mean, how did you settle it? Did you give him money?
Yeah, we had to have a basic course in lending, and he learned a lot. And Walt's a quick study, so he had no problem understanding that we needed a budget, a real budget with breakdowns and of costs, and so he figured that out, and he presented me a budget, and we went and got the loan approved, and 650,000 square feet later, Rock Point still a monument in this town.
So is that where he got square feet?
He'd done a couple of smaller projects before that, and I think the Broadway building may be the first time that he came up with that.
It was a very good line like that. What
Yeah.
Square feet.
Yeah.
And so from there, how did your relationship grow?
Well, he wanted more buildings and needed more money, and so he assigned me the task of bringing more money in, and so that's how we got to know each other. And because he was so green, we did have to spend a lot of time together, sort of educating him as to how banks thought and how they worked and how they proceeded and to give their money away. So we spent a lot of time together. And at that point, I left banking, and a friendship had been established, and it's, I think, prospered ever since.
And so what did you do after banking?
Basically, I'm a Walt wannabe. I've been developing and investing in real estate on my own.
Has he helped you out with that?
He shared his opinions. Happily shared his opinions. You bet.
What can you tell me about him as a businessman?
Quick, astute, and
Let's wait for this giant truck to go by. That makes for bad audio. Is it no? Keep going.
Walt's quick, he's astute, and has integrity, and really that's that's what drew me to him in the first place. He wasn't the most qualified borrower I'd ever had, but the point of the exercise is, as a banker, you're going to get paid back, and I was confident of that. So he's just a quick study. He's overwhelms everything he does with hard work, and in every aspect of it. He researches what he's going to do. He understands how to attack the problem. He understands his risk. He just spends a lot of time in assessing his risk. So he's just works on every angle. Decision maker superb, and that really is his strength. He keeps things simple and makes great decisions.
So do you know why they're being honored? Have you heard? It's the Junior Achievement Hall of Fame, and they're being inducted into the Hall of Fame, both Walt and Karen.
Correct.
And I want to know why you think Walt and Karen both deserve this honor.
Well, I do think they deserve the honor. Walt and Karen have been a team from the get-go. Walt's the big gruff guy, and Karen's the one that follows behind and powders up the rough spots that he's created with his unique style. She has been intimately involved from the day one. And I just think that between what Walt has done for this community with what he's done to the Davenport and what he's done to really, I think he's a crucial part of this revitalization we've enjoyed the last 10 years because of the Rock Point project. That brought a number of large office users, i.e. Substantial employers to town, put a lot of people to work, and he's created, been at the heart of the economic renaissance we've had here for the last 10 years.
Somebody need to go through?
Clint.
No, it's Mike.
That's Mike?
Yeah.
We need a sign.
Well, besides, I truly believe Davenport has completely turned Spokane around. But besides the Davenport, before the Davenport, and everybody knows about Davenport, it seems like. So before the Davenport, what were Walt and Karen doing that helped Spokane become what it is today?
Well, I think they were fairly well under the radar until Rock Point began, and at that point they became a much more prominent. Its location across the street from the arena, its location up on that ugly old pile that had been full of bulldozers or parts of bulldozers and ugly old construction equipment, really, he transformed that into a gorgeous elevated office location with views from, Mount Spokane to the West Plain.
Yeah, that's my fault. I should know better than this.
I don't know how to turn mine off, but I don't have mine. It's in the car, so I'm...
Well, yeah, I think you're doing better than I am. There was somebody saying hello there. I just had to cut them off.
That's what he does when I call. He cuts me off.
Yeah. No more, Susie. So continue on. You're talking about Rock Point, what they had done to help start turning Spokane around
Well,
after the truck.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See, I told you it was going to be easy.
It's one of those afternoons all of a sudden. Go ahead.
Rock Point was a huge undertaking, as I mentioned earlier, 650,000 square feet, and it brought a lot of people to town who were looking for a place to land, and if they hadn't found it, they probably would have kept on going down the road until they'd found the space they needed. So Rock Point met that need. It created a large job base, and I think contributed substantially, as I said, to the success of Spokane in the last 10 years.
So what do you know about the Davenport story?
Oh,
Did he tell you what he was going to do? I've heard that a lot of people have said to him that this is crazy. You can't do this. It's not. You're going to lose your shorts if you go into this deal. Were you one of those people?
no, I guess from the get-go, I was convinced that Walt was the guy. I tell the story that my bride and I were married. That was in '86. We decided to build a home, and on a Sunday we were up there walking through the framed shell of the house, and Walt and Karen drove by and got out, and so I introduced them to my wife, and as they drove away, I said, they're the folks that are going to do the Davenport. That was 1986. And as a banker, I saw numerous folks and put together suggestions about what be done and bring those to me as a banker, and none of them, in the back of my mind, I knew there was only one guy that could make it work, and that was Walt and Karen. So that's 1986, I knew that.
That's good to hear. And so you've been, you were right all along.
Well, Walt was right all along, and he just needed number one, he needed the timing had to be right, and so Walt was able to build the resources he needed between 1986 and the beginning of his purchase there, and that is a key part, was his success in allowing him to do that project. But his instincts, I mean, we literally talked about it. Okay, every 3 months he'd call me up and say, we need to have lunch, and he'd have this come to Jesus meeting about the Davenport, and about what he was thinking at that point. And was the opportunity right now, and was the timing right now? And so that was an ongoing process for a lot of years.
Oh, that's great. So what was Karen's involvement in the Davenport? Was it just Walt's passion, or was it also Karen's passion?
Everything, well, Walt, I don't think, gave Karen a choice. Karen is she's the organization behind it all. I mean, Walt he makes it rain, and then Karen's got to figure out how to put all the pieces together. Just intimately involved in all the design choices, all the decorating choices, all the bookkeeping issues that were involved. I mean, Karen was just there, worked herself to death, just trying to keep up with Walt as he was, pounding nails and pouring concrete.
As friends, Howard, what's he like as a friend? What are they like as friends? Are they friends of yours?
They are friends, Walt's a pretty unique individual. He's most successful people I don't think are as crazy as he is, and he's just got a very simple way of looking at life, and he breaks it down like that. He maintains his attitudes. Success hasn't gone to his head, and he's really just. Well, we've had some good times. Let me leave it at that.
So how crazy is he?
Well, I can't tell you about the Bahamas last year, so he's a fun time, and he's just got a real good a sense of humor and enough of the devil in him that he's you don't want too many cops too close.
I bet the Bentley goes real fast.
Yeah.
That's a pretty car.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Am I missing anything? Is there anything that you came in wanting to tell me about Walt and Karen?
Well, I guess my thoughts are as I thought about junior achievement that I mentioned it earlier. Integrity, okay, is what it's all about. The reason I got to know Walt and lent him money and was able to convince my bank that they should lend him money is because I was convinced of his integrity and his commitment to honor what he said. The other thing that is hard work. Walt and Karen have just worked so hard. They literally have worked. I've seen them work, around the clock for months on end. The Davenport Tower is just the latest example of that. I mean, geez, I'd be gone for a weekend playing, and I'd come back, and Walt and he'd be telling me what he was doing Saturday night. And after he got finished putting in a 12-hour day on the construction site, he had to go over and serve at a banquet over at the Davenport. So hard work and integrity, I think, are the two key things I can say. Tell the junior achievement audience about Walt, and keep your eye on it, kids, because that's going to get you where you need to go.
Well, what's the most important thing about being a business person? Or a business. This is about Walt and Karen, so I don't want it to be all about Walt. But what makes a person a great business person? Is it just integrity, or is it what do you have to encompass?
I've never figured that out, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, but I can't answer that. I really am stumped when it comes to that, because I know every size, shape, form, personality of success, and I don't see a common trait besides hard work and persistence. that's the most common trait I see. Other than that, it seems to be all over the board.
Yeah, very good. I think we got everything we need from you.
Okay.
Unless there's some, funny, embarrassing stories you want to tell. But
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell a funny story. I'm ready for a funny one.
Let's see, what can I tell about Walt and Karen?
I know I left for a weekend and came back, and there was a whole new tower in
Yeah,
the corner to his
yeah,
building.
yeah. Well, I will tell you that the second Rock Point building, after I explained to you what we went through on the first building about, we don't just give you money, you got to tell us some detail how you're going to spend it. So Walt had proposed that we do the second building at Rock Point, and he'd actually come forth with a budget for a nice 5-story building. And by the time it was finished, he had come back for some more money, and I had to go and explain it was no longer a 5-story building, it was a 6.5-story building. And Walt had just thought that he could add a little on top and no problem at all. So you never know where you're going to end up with Walt.
And did he get a 6.5-story building?
He got a 6.5-story building, yes he did.
Oh, that's great. Well, what I want to do now is have you, whenever you're ready.
Congratulations, Walt and Karen. Many years of hard work, and your induction into the Hall of Fame is well deserved. Lon and I are extremely proud of you, delighted for all the great times we've had, and can think of no one more deserving of this honor than yourselves. Congratulations.